crypto lifestyle, baby.
I felt as though this was my point of duty to make this video because I've been a guy in the real Web3 space for the past 5 years, and a lot of people are confused with this. And, videos like this here, Web3 Metaverse chat with Mark Zuckerberg, is not helping their case. And look, this is not me trying to attack Gary Vee, man. Look, I love Gary Vee to death, by the way. I actually respect this guy immensely. Back in the day when nobody knew about Twitter, he was the first one to speak about that. He was like one of the first influencers ever. Okay, when social media went about, he predicted live streaming on YouTube will be on your phone soon before anybody cared or knew what that was, the implications it would have. But, this is the problem that I have with influencers. It's what? When a new trend comes about, they have to be first. And when they're first, their facts are 9 times out of 10 inaccurate. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. Now look, ladies and gentlemen, all metaverses are not Web3. You know why? Because Web3 is about being financially included. It's about ownership, and it's about decentralization. Those things that I just mentioned, those characteristics and attributes are the opposite of what Meta, Facebook, and Mark Zuckerberg stands for. We all know this is well documented, right? By now, today, everybody understands this, right? Thank God to, alternate sources of media and documentaries that show this and prove this, that he takes our data, he sells it to advertisers, and, they monitor every single step that we take, just like Big Brother over there, the eye in the sky over there, if you know what I'm saying, right? And this is our chance to actually break free from that. And he knows this. Do you know that how Facebook did the largest and biggest rebrand in history, right? The size of that company to rebrand to Meta, because he knows they could be displaced, but he also wants to keep the gridlock, the headlock on the masses and the control, right? If there's a substantial platform shift into the metaverse, which is going to happen, Facebook is going to be obsolete, kind of like how he made MySpace obsolete, and he knows this. But let's get to the point of the title of this video. Now, what is the definition of the metaverse? Okay, and hear me out, of the metaverse before you guys drop your comments on the metaverse here. Now, according to good old Google and Wikipedia, they get it right. They say that how a metaverse is a network of 3D virtual worlds focused on social connection. In futurism and science fiction, blah, 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 it goes on. Now, that is partially correct. My definition is this. The metaverse is a shared 3D environment or a digital plane of existence that could essentially fit the entire world. But it must be a place where people could buy, sell, or trade digital or physical items. Okay, so it must have its own economy. Okay, guys, that is the definition of the metaverse, right? Now, why is that not Web3? It's not Web3 because if the metaverse has those things, but nobody could actually own a part of that metaverse or own a part of that infrastructure, right? Or that real estate, let's call it, then it's not true Web3, okay? Web3 is about decentralization. Let's not get it twisted now. It's very hard, and I can see why people get confused with this because, the metaverse is an attribute or a add-on to Web3. It enhances it, right? Kind of like, I don't know, I got black hair and some gray hair too, and, my skin color might be brown, but Francis, it's like Francis is who I am, right? Those are just characteristics and traits of myself, but that's not me indirectly, right? It's kind of like the internet. Well, what is the internet? It's the World Wide Web. The internet is not, Facebook, Meta, and all of these things, right? Google, Amazon. Those are attributes that makes up the internet. So the same is true for the metaverse. However, there are metaverses that are Web3, as long as people have financial inclusiveness, if they own a piece of the land in the metaverse. Imagine if we owned a piece of Facebook, that wall, you owned a piece of that infrastructure. I'm not talking about stocks. That's super valuable. So that's what Web3 is now. If we look at back in the day, when, back in the day as, human beings, we used to just trade amongst neighbors, right? Like if I had some tomatoes, you'll give me some potatoes, right? That's just how it worked. Some tomato for some potato, right? That's just how it worked. And, back in the day. And then the Industrial Revolution came about and everybody was just happy to just go to work in this new world, right? The new world to make money, right? Everybody was happy with that. Then fast forward, businesses, people had the ability to create businesses now. And that in itself was extraordinary because now the people weren't really controlled as much by corporations in the Industrial Revolution going to work for a company. We, those same people, can make their own companies. And when the internet came about, it allowed P2P trading, peer-to-peer trading, right? Oh, that's P2P, man. YouTube right now with this very platform is peer-to-peer, okay? Now we're transitioning into Web3. where it's not peer-to-peer, but it's actual ownership of the users and rewarding the users for their time and or money spent that they own in that infrastructure. That is Web3. Now, I got to reflect to one of the greatest minds, but before we do, which is Gavin Wood, who was the former chief technological officer of Ethereum and also the founder of Polkadot, one of my favorite blockchains. Now, this is the definition of Web3 here coming from good old Wikipedia, which says Web3 is an idea of a new iteration of the World Wide Web based on blockchain technology, which incorporates concepts such as decentralization and token-based economics. Okay, guys? Decentralization on blockchain. You don't see that with, these metaverses like Meta, like NVIDIA is making one too. That's centralized. Okay? Blockchain-based metaverses like Sandbox, like Decentraland, like Somnium Space, like Network, and others, okay, Crypto Voxels, all of those are true Web3 applications, okay? So the metaverse is an application on the Web3, okay? Web 3.0, if that makes sense. Now let's go to one of the greatest minds, which is Gavin Wood in this space. Now, you guys, if you've been following me, you know I've been talking about the Web3 Foundation, okay? The Web3 Foundation, they give Web3 grants to these projects up and coming in the Polkadot ecosystem. That terminology, Web3 Foundation or Web3 grant, or the term Web3, was coming from Gavin Wood and his people and, many others in the blockchain space as well. But I'm using them as an example well before this metaverse term came about. So do not be misled that metaverse is Web3. Not all metaverses are Web3. There are some that are, if they're blockchain based. Now, let's go on over to his website. I love this guy. So, according to them, our mission is to nurture cutting-edge applications for decentralized web software protocols. Our passion is delivering Web 3.0, a decentralized and fair internet where users control their own data, identity, and destiny. Okay, guys? It's all about ownership and control and decentralization. That is the core essence of what Web 3.0 is, man. Now, I do have another slide here, which is the same thing as that. Now, if you're seeing these marketers coming on YouTube or on Google or wherever, on Twitter, and they're talking about all this shit like they know, just remember, marketers and influencers love to be first and not right. 9 times out of 10, when there's a new trend, they want to pop up, so they are recognized and associated as a first mover, or they get that views, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? That's just how the game works here, man, unfortunately. So I hope this video cleared things up and you fully understand at least a little bit more on what the true definition of Web 3.0 is. So you know what? There really much left to say other than until the next video, you're on your own. Later.